Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl was a blast to play through and a nice change of pace from Fallout, and when I saw that Clear Sky was more of the same but now with faction wars, I was already adding it to my library. So let's just see how clear the sky actually is. But be warned, while I streamed this on YouTube, some Stalker vets were losing their minds at my, shall I say, odd gameplay choices. So if you're okay watching the worst first playthrough of Clear Sky ever, sit down, grab a snack, and let's get into it. Clear Sky opens up with the most misleading title ever, and we get to see a cute doggy eating his lunch. Next we see the same scientist that tried to bust a move in Shadow of Chernobyl being led through the backwoods of Florida. But I'm glad to see that they at least picked someone who had arguably one of the best guns in the game. But for as pleasant as a stroll as this was, it sounded like a hurricane was on the horizon. Except much like everyone in Florida knows, shooting at a hurricane will only end badly, but when the hurricane is glowing red, there's not a whole lot anyone can do. Cut to us out cold and two homies talking about how I just got dosed up with enough radiation to make the ghouls in Fallout look like smooth skins. Now awake, I got the rundown. It turns out that I was the devilish rogue leading the scientists. But after that hurricane, they were done dancing. Forever. Now, I don't want to gush, but this game looks so much better than the first. Maybe it was the enhanced high resolution, but man, this game looks fantastic. I mean, just look at this! But the sightseeing was short-lived, as now came the narrative dump. Long story short, these guys belong to a faction called Clear Sky. But wait a minute, isn't that what the game is? Oh, I get it now! Between Lebedev and Beampolev, they explained that the point of the faction was unification. They had no idea what the zone was or how it worked, but because of how many people ventured into the zone for artifact hunting, robbing poor people, or sticking it to the government, they wanted to figure it out. Not just to help them, but to help everyone. They were scientists first and foremost, and because of this, they were struggling with moving through the zone. Especially with renegades and bandits taking them out as easy pickings. But that's where I come in. During our powwow, a distress call came over the radio. Sounds like some Clear Sky homies were getting hog wild and it was up to me to come help. I got blindfolded and led into Dagobah, and much like with any hideaway that a Force-sensitive swamp frog is trying to hide in, the air was quite hostile. For some reason, my Floridian upbringing wasn't helping here, but it's probably because I was too busy trying to throw bolts into a whirlpool. And look, like I said, I'm gonna butcher this playthrough, but maybe I should actually do the right thing and not walk into them. Now, arriving at the distress call, I saw in fact that the scientists were getting hog wild, but now they had been chased up a tower and had almost no ammo. And then another hurricane came and told me that cheating death only happens in cutscenes. So, on another go, I took the fight to the piggies and got properly gored to death. Alright, no more fucking around. I used a conveniently placed barrel to take out the piggies, and at the first sign of rumbling, I raced down the tower to grab shelter. But when the sky turns red, there's no such thing as shelter. Just kidding, I'm alive and well and back at base. After talking with Lebedev, he explains that I am indeed the main character for surviving yet another Zona mission, but don't expect a sequel as my life is expiring faster than the weekly loaf of bread. So a quest was presented to make the most of what I had left, hunting down a stalker. It turns out that the emissions in the zone are common, but these were massive scale blackout ones. These were more akin to an immune system fighting off an infection. Lebedev wasn't 100% sure why, but his thoughts were that someone had posted on the PDA social media app that they were vacationing past the brain scorcher in the zone, and now the zone was freaking out because it wasn't invited. You think you know a guy. Speaking of knowing a guy, it turns out that a shady looking stalker had been dealing with Scamovich. It wasn't much, but at least I had something to go off of. Time to head to Corden. And not quite. First I had to run through the swamps and help Clear Sky retake the land. But since the first body I found had heaps of gear on it, I figured this would be an easy distraction before confronting Scamovich. However, if you're a stalker vet or have eyeballs, you'll see that this wasn't the case. I followed the distress signal and helped to call out the local population of missed piggies before checking the body of the fallen for loot. But since I stashed all of my starting loot on a random dead body ages ago, I was now at the mercy of whatever I could get my hands on. So when the Clear Sky Goon Squad rolled out, I followed like some kind of vulture to swoop down and get supplies. For being scientists who aren't good at fighting, they weren't afraid to take the fight to the renegades at all. And since they only had shotguns, I guess they didn't have much of a choice. However, it would ultimately be left up to me to win the day. This playstyle might look like it works here, but I'm telling you now, this is a surefire way to either waste all of your healing supplies or die. I rolled with the Clear Sky troops for a bit and even took the Renegade's base to help secure the Clear Sky foothold. This earned me enough cool kid points to be tasked with taking back the areas leading outside the swamp. I tried to wade through some water and found a Sweet Silence pistol, only to gain so much radiation my only option was to down 10 bottles of vodka at the same time. And oh my god, I was on a trip. I was trying to traverse a radioactive swamp with hordes of renegades out for my blood, anomalies that could rip me apart in seconds, all while just trying to walk in a straight line. This game is great. But seeing how the vodka had lasted a little longer than I was expecting and my head was still trying to figure out which way I was going, I tried to take a renegade base and surprisingly did take someone out, but inevitably got myself killed in the end. On the next attempt, Clear Sky had actually gotten here first and did all the fighting for me. This earned me the option to finally leave the swamps and hit the mainland. Next up, Skamovich. Now, heading into an open area, the air was filled with that of a siren and then that of a fucking machine gun. Trying to figure out whatever options I had at this point, I tried to hide behind a tree. Alright, I'm gonna have to check the area. Oh, yeah, of course, why didn't I think of that? Okay, I'll cut this short as we'll be here as long as I was during the playthrough. See, what we're dealing with here is a maître fromager, or cheese master, and with a specialty in Emmentaler. They brilliantly crafted a wine and dine experience that brought everyone to their knees. More than once. In fact, quite a bit. But besides the bougie experience that my peasant upbringing couldn't even begin to comprehend, I didn't understand the assignment. See, what I was supposed to do was to get to Cordon, which if you look at this silly little arrow right here, it clearly shows that I need to be going left. But when I learned that I could run behind trees that block bullets sometimes, I eventually ended up surrounded by military members. And if I so much as peeked out, I was shot by the machine gun. So guess how I felt when I noticed that arrow pointing in the opposite direction. Yeah. This is a major skill issue on my end, but I'm gonna blame it on the machine gun. This small section had me so frazzled and focused on taking out the machine gun with whatever I had, because honestly that wasn't even an option, that I forgot what I was actually supposed to be doing. After coming to my senses and running through bullets, merely surviving by wrapping my entire body in bandages and eating 6 logs of diet meat, I made a break for it, only to get called and harassed by Skamovich. He's probably pissed about me not buying anything off him in the first game. Shortly after I arrived at Wolf's camp, the familiarity's nice touch as I raced down to, why the fuck are you bald now? You had hair in the first game, which takes place after this. What happened? Besides the fact that Keeps is a confirmed existence in S.T.A.L.K.E.R, Skamovich tells me that before he tells me anything, I gotta do something for him. Man, this seems real familiar. It turns out that Sid here was trying to set up a major buy for a VIP, but the two parties who were supposed to be recovering an artifact were at each other's throats, so of course, I was required to go play hero to get the goods. Talking with the stalkers, it turns out that the military backstabbed them and sold some of their guys off as slaves. I chatted with the culprit, but he's chillin'. He has tons of military dudes on the way to break him out of jail, so naturally, to get him to pony up, my new task is to go take out his entire backup squad. Who this silenced pistol I found made short fucking work of. All you gotta do is aim, and all your problems go away. I mean, sometimes. With the backup taken out, the trader gives up the location of the goods, to which I go retrieve and drop off at Sid. He then disclosed that a stalker named Fang came through and bought some tube amplifiers, but now he was heading to the garbage to meet up with some diggers who had come across some ancient technology. It's time to go dumpster diving. But as soon as I made it into the garbage, I got held at gunpoint by a bunch of bandits. They made it out as if they were totally nice dudes by not taking my supplies, but still, losing all the money I had just earned felt terrible. Oh well, I mean, it's the beginning of the game, so I should be able to make all of that money back, right? Continuing on, I found the diggers Fang had gone to meet, but like most quests in S.T.A.L.K.E.R involving tracking someone down, they were already dead before I got there. Turns out Fang wasn't happy about not finding all the components he was after and had run off, leaving the group of diggers to divide and conquer, and by conquer I mean get torn apart by dogs. At least here's one I can save. After saving him, I was told that Fang had given him and the dogs a slip and snuck into the Dark Valley. Oh, you've gotta be fucking kidding me! Again? Homie, I don't even have any money from the last time you assholes robbed me. It was just up the street! Making it into the Dark Valley. Oh, god damn it. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm not actually being robbed this time. Wait, hold on. Instead, I was now being conscripted by Freedom. I guess that's a better choice? One of the major factions of the game. Turns out something had been sneaking into their territory, and if I wanted help finding Fang, I was gonna need to help these yahoos out first. I mean, considering they have territory, maybe these guys are professionals?
Hey, Shot, we get a walk frame over here or what? That will be $20. You cheapskate. Alright, get them from the Commandant. Come again? So how about it, eh, Shot? You want it, you get it, okay? Move your ass! You're a real jerk, you know that? You're just sitting there doing nothing all day. Hey, you go suck my... God, that bullshit, you bozos! You're making the whole place sound like a used car dealership!
What have I just gotten myself into? At first, I got tasked with taking down a pseudo-dog, which was a piece of piss, and then recovering a PDA off some dead soldiers. Returning to Chekhov, the leader of Freedom, it turns out that the attacks were happening because a friend of Chekhov, the Commandant, had gone around snitching company secrets, and now Freedom needed my help to track him down and take him out. Luckily, I had some backup when it came to tracking him down. Easy peasy. Returning to Chekhov, he claimed that the mercenaries had been the ones carrying out the attacks, but seeing how I brought all of this to light, he told me that Fang had gone back to the garbage, which meant that I could have just stayed there, but no! We're back on a wild goose chase again. But instead of heading out, I wanted to stay and help Freedom. Mainly because this game had faction wars, and seeing how these guys welcome me with open arms, I figured they got first dibs. So what does joining Freedom get you? How about a raid where you and your homies try to blow up tunnels mercenaries are using to sneak around? But only trust your homies to fight outside, as none of them actually want to go in. And honestly, I don't blame them, it's scary in here. After making it outside and watching as the mercs blew up their own tunnels, I returned to Chekhov to finally join Freedom. But besides being told no, I was just told to not worry about it and go away. Alright, well I guess I'm going back to the garbage. Oh, wait, hold on, we actually have a specific location to go to. Nice! I can finally find Fang and... more fucking bandits. Oh great, and now my stuff is gone. What, because I didn't have any money, you just had to take something? I've been robbed almost 1 time per hour during this game so far. Awakening from my beauty sleep, Lebedev called me and informed me that the stalkers had made it deep into the zone and emissions would begin to start acting more frequently, which meant I needed to hunt down these stalkers and return the zone to its slightly less lethal state. Where do we begin hunting? How about S.T.A.L.K.E.R stash from the first game? Seems like a pretty likely spot, but without weapons, getting there would prove fatal, so I needed to go pay those bandits a visit and reacquire my goods. However, inside the room I was jumped in, there was ammo and a gun. You wanna know what I didn't take? Oh yeah, this is gonna be fun. Besides finding out that the knife has the craziest hitbox I've ever seen in a game, this was just a matter of perfection. Peak perfection with no room for error. I had to take out the bandit with the AK and then scoop up the weapon to gun down the other who had a fucking shotgun. But while theory is awesome, practice is another story. I'm not blaming this on the game, this is completely my fault, but I still had fun trying to pull this maneuver off, and when I finally managed to make it all work, I felt like a badass. I could have completely skipped this, but still, here we are. But I don't even want to know how many alternate timeline scars I've lost to this goofy playstyle. I didn't exactly get it on the first try. No way. No. I'm not getting robbed again. I've had it with these damn dudes. I just got my shit back and it's staying with me. Sure, it may have cost me some medkits and bandages, but now I could at least say that I was the proud owner of... Yeah, something tells me I didn't actually pick up any new money, so that entire fight that left over 10 people dead was all over absolutely nothing. Well, sucks to be them. Anyways, back to finding those stalkers. I stopped by Duty HQ to see if they knew how to get to the Agripum underground, and to my surprise, they did know and were even willing to help me get there. But in exchange, I would need to shut off a water pump while I was down there to flood out the mutant tunnels. I have a feeling when they say mutant tunnels, this place is gonna be... Oh my god! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Well, hey, at least the knife finally wanted to evolve into a weapon of mass destruction. But with the pump turned off, I continue my mission of finding S.T.A.L.K.E.R's base. Because who else would be traveling with Fang at this point? And this would prove pivotal to tracking them down. S.T.A.L.K.E.R was heading to the scientists at S.T.A.L.K.E.R for psi protection to make it past the brain scorcher, and that his homies were to meet him at a military warehouse further into the zone. But where was the warehouse? Did S.T.A.L.K.E.R get the psi protection? With a phone call from Lebedev who stated the obvious, I would soon find the answers I seeked. On the way to Lake Yantar, I found some loners cruising through the reeds, and it's a good thing I stuck with them because I found a Vintar BC, a highly accurate silenced rifle, and holy shit, this thing was awesome. I could finally hit my shots without too much leading, and I figured sticking with these guys would prove more beneficial to my survival than anything. But when the bodies of zombified homies started to pile up, I knew this weapon wasn't gonna last long. Not because I was gonna get rid of it, but because knowing me, I'd end up wasting way too much ammo to use it later. Thankfully, the other loners could hold down the fort. Who else did you think was gonna do it? Me? With the camp in good hands, I went to talk to Sakharov. Turns out S.T.A.L.K.E.R had come and gone. But since the good old doctor had placed a tracker on him, it looks like when he tried to go past the brain scorcher, he was hit with a large emission and his signal had gone dark. Heading out to track the last signal, I got to watch my favorite anomaly take out some zombies. I'm just glad it wasn't me this time. But don't worry, it may not be the anomalies that takes me out, but I will definitely be joining those guys sooner than later. After looting a PDA from some dead stalkers and returning to Sakharov, he told me to meet up with some stalkers who were heading to a military warehouse, which just happened to be one of the places I needed to go. Go figure. We would need to repair the cooling devices there, and once that was done, the brain scorcher's blast would calm down enough for me to continue hunting S.T.A.L.K.E.R. So now I was off to meet up with Lefty and his squad to make some repairs. And honestly, this was the first time I had ever been assigned to a group of stalkers that I was actually confident would achieve their goal. Not only was I told to only do what I was asked, but these guys also took lead, role and all. But they didn't lose anyone to any of the zombies that tried to deter us from entering. I've got a good feeling about these guys. We pushed in and now a timer appeared. I had to somehow guard these guys making the repairs. And I won't lie, knowing my aim, I was more than a bit concerned. But combined with the power of friendlies, they held the zombies back with my supervision long enough to fix the cooling system. Only for every zombie to then pull out guns and waste what remained of Lefty's squad. Meaning I had to roll out or... oh, never mind. Regardless of how many new orifices I now had, Sakharov now had a signal at S.T.A.L.K.E.R and he was just on the other side of a transition door in the Red Forest. Now only if I could actually make it out of here, I could chase him. After somehow making it through with no healing and enough bleeding to make an anemic seem tame, I found that squirrely bastard. Only for some reason my run was disabled, so in the most menacing of tones, I walked after S.T.A.L.K.E.R. Only to waltz right into an ambush that I would not win, not by any metric. Man, these grenade throws are almost dead on, aren't they? After the 10th or so death without any progress, chat practically begged me to go get supplies. So I did. I walked all the way back to Cordon to meet up with Skamovich, who lived up to his name. He was gonna buy this $12,000 gun for $963. No wonder you have to extort people for insurance claims to make a living. So in an effort to still get supplies, I ventured all the way back to Clear Sky HQ as they claimed to have something for me. And oh my god, I should have came back ages ago. There's enough here to practically outfit my entire character. The best part of this was as soon as I picked up that reward, another one popped all the way back at duty base for flooding the tunnels. But as I traveled, an emission tried to roll through. Luckily, the duty base was close enough that I could run into it, but if the emission is shaking the entire building and glowing red, even through walls, I'd hate to see what this looks like outside. I collected my reward of 10 grand from duty, and yet still had more rewards. A sunrise suit from the loners that I accidentally helped out. Whereas I was using them as walking backpacks, apparently my presence was enough for them to think that I was actually trying to help them. Now all I needed to do was buy ammo, and I was set. I started to head towards the Freedom base and got the call on the radio that I could finally join these guys. Finally, a faction to call my own. I raced over and immediately pledged allegiance and received my starter pack. A new armored suit, a fantastic weapon being the SGI, and tons of med kits. With 20 grand and tons of options, I was set to pursue S.T.A.L.K.E.R. But before I left, Chekhov said that the soldiers of freedom were heading into the garbage to push back duty. And I'm telling you now, I was not missing a faction war if I could help it. Now I'll be real with you. When I heard faction wars, I was excited. Almost like when you get an email saying that if you send a Nigerian prince $10,000, they'll pay you $10 million. I mean, how would you pass that up? But fighting for freedom wouldn't be as easy as emptying your bank account. On the way to the garbage, an emission threatened to take my lunch money. So I did the most sensible thing and ran inside a completely covered underground basement. But when the emission passed, I died. I tried again and the same outcome happened. I didn't understand what was going on, so I went around to try and talk to some of the other stalkers in the area to see how they dealt with the emission. But while talking to one, the emission rolled through and did nothing to my character. So tell me, how is talking to a stalker outside while exposed to the elements safer than an underground basement? This game is silly sometimes. Continuing into the garbage, I started to take on duty and clear out some major points so Freedom could take the area. But every time I did, Freedom would send a squad to hold the point, and that squad would get absolutely mowed down. How are these guys supposed to control the garbage if they can't beat anything? I tried heading out on my own to take some strategic points, but I'm not skilled enough to take 10 plus duty soldiers at the same time in the dead of night. The worst part of this, however, was the lack of awareness from Freedom. How do you miss the bandit dispersing his entire nightly earnings into my face? Where's the backup? I fought all night for Freedom. I really tried. But after watching my homies get picked off one by one, I figured the front lines were never meant for Freedom. At least not without my help. While I was with them, they actually seemed to hold their own. But for as silly as it had been, it was time to get back to S.T.A.L.K.E.R. That guy was probably out of the country by now. Oh look, he waited for me! And so did his ambush. It took a bit of trial and error, but eventually I did manage to survive the ambush. But just as I did, S.T.A.L.K.E.R. blew up the tunnel he had just used, meaning I had to deal with more loners. With the welcoming party dealt with, Lebedev told me I had to make it across a bridge to Le Mans to continue chasing S.T.A.L.K.E.R., but it was under bandit occupation. But since the bandits wouldn't work with me due to that slight misunderstanding we had earlier, I was to go find someone named Forrester who would be able to help me chase after S.T.A.L.K.E.R. But to hell with that! I took the fight to the gate operators, and then tried to wade through some water. These bastards have thought of everything. Right, looks like we're trying to get to Forrester. After running through a forest being chased by God knows what, I found more loners who were more worried about their survival than attacking me. But they weren't my mission. No, I was hunting a much bigger fish. And by hunting, I mean contemplating my life decisions up to this point. I needed to find a space anomaly, which sounds kind of awesome. And regardless of what it was, first I had to cross through a tunnel full of snorks. These little Smeagol wannabes have got to be my least favorite mutant, and now here I was spamming grenades, praying to thin out the numbers, or trying to use their AI against itself. Failing that, I was running for my life into strange rifts in the sky, only to bleed out on the other side. On another go, surprisingly, jumping into the magic sky portal was actually the right thing. I arrived in a quiet area of the zone and walked inside to meet with Forrester, who just so happened to be upstairs. I told him I needed to get to Le Mans, but some hobgoblins wouldn't let me through. But Forrester said that the bridge wasn't the only way. He went on to explain that some stalkers had actually found another entrance, but then got trapped in a space anomaly with only a faint signal from their PDA to go off of. But if I could find them, maybe I could figure out how they got in. Sounds easy, you might say, and it is. Just find missing people stuck in an alternate dimension. But what isn't easy is getting through a blockade of duty members who are now your sworn enemy, all because you joined the opposing color scheme to them. Thankfully, the SGI doesn't care what faction you're on and will gladly disperse zone freedom to whoever is on the other side of the barrel. Making it past the blockade, I met up with some Freedom homies. They informed me that the nearby area had fallen from military control based on the numerous emissions scattering the stalkers, much like the missing ones I was looking for. They instructed me to check the nearby ghost town and begin my search for answers there. And almost immediately as I walked into town, I got jumped by one of the locals. Blind firing is bad in this game, especially while moving like you're on fire. But for as goofy as it looked, I'm the one alive and the bloodsucker is not. I continued checking some of the empty houses and found something odd. It looked like one of the space anomalies was left behind, causing the contents of one of the houses to shift every time I tried to go through the front door. Not gonna lie, I thought I was losing my mind here for a second. I met up with some mercenaries who were still in the area and they had also lost their guys to a rift in space. But it sounded like these were actually the same guys that I was looking for. They told me of a nearby water tower I could use to get more of a signal on where these guys were, but that it was also surrounded by mutants, like more bloodsuckers. Making it to the top of the tower, I got a signal with coordinates from the missing stalkers, and then got ripped apart by dogs at the bottom. But after a quick shooting gallery, I was now tasked with meeting back up with Forrester. Or instead of doing that, I could go on another side quest spree and collect some rewards I had waiting. You can never have too many supplies. As I pushed through the garbage back to Freedom, I managed to take out a couple of duty positions, only to make it back to Freedom HQ and find out that these guys were just zone hippies.
Peace out, dude. Too bad we didn't roll a joint together.
That's why they had gotten their asses kicked so often. They were just high out of their minds in an active war zone. What the fuck? While here, I bought a sniper rifle and practically every piece of ammo for my SGI and newly acquired rifle. I even upgraded my weapons too. Before wiping duty off the face of the map, I went back to Forrester to progress the main quest line. After telling him about the coordinates the stalkers gave in their last transmission, he said that there was actually an artifact called the Compass that he would be able to use to get the stalkers free. But it just so happened the bandits had stolen it while Forrester was heading home, so it was up to me to go retrieve it. With a silencer and in the dead of night, I infiltrated the bandits' hideout, and besides my aim being utter dog shit at times, I was still able to pull this off with little to no issue. But as I quickly found out, these weren't bandits, these were renegades, and renegades carried the good guns. I love the Vintar, but this gun here carried me through the first game. You already know it's coming with me. I cleared out the remaining renegades and checked all rooms, and with the close clear, I grabbed the artifact. But as I went to leave, I found a duty member.
Open fire!
Bad aim or not, shit is on sight with them. Returning back to Forrester, I gave him the artifact and he gave me a modified Vintar, with almost dead-on accuracy. Look, I love the SA Avalanche, but the Vintar is my ride or die. As I was admiring the new gun, Forrester said that I would need to head to a military warehouse to use a transmitter they had to break the stalkers out of the time loop. Only issue is, it was full of military members. Where else would you find military guys? Luckily for me, Freedom had their eyes set on the place as well, and backup is always welcome.
One thing, are we free to go, or you're just being slow? Yo, dude, you with us or what?
The military never knew what hit them. I said we'll never know what hit them. Alright, look, by now they should have realized that coming through this door would lead to their end. I mean, just look at the bodies! But for some reason, the military were more oblivious than Skyrim guards. I'm not complaining, if anything, I'm impressed. Maybe they were taking pity on me because of my aim? Maybe they were taking pity on me because of my aim? With the military eventually dealt with, I ran and flipped the switch. I went and flipped a switch. This broadcasted a signal that the stalkers could use to free themselves from the time loop, and coincidentally put them on the other side of that bridge I couldn't get opened earlier, which just meant it was time to bust out ye old sniper rifle montage and cover them while they lowered the bridge for me. On beyond this point, moving forward was the point of no return. But just because I have a golden ticket waiting for me, doesn't mean everyone shares my enthusiasm. Making it back to Clear Sky HQ, I grabbed my reward and made sure to buy as many healing items as I could. If we're going into the last couple sections, I would hate to bleed all over the scenery. I also got the FT200M. Not only did it take the same ammo as the SGI, but the handling and accuracy were far better. Look, I love the SGI, but the FT is just a better weapon overall. You already know I had to take it with me. After touring across the zone, I traveled back to Freedom HQ and upgraded everything I could and grabbed night vision for my suit, while also repairing and grabbing all available ammo. I'm pretty sure with this amount, I should be fine for whatever it is to come. Hopefully. Next up, Lemansk. As soon as we rolled in, we came across bandits, but instead of robbing us, they surrendered? What? I didn't even know you could do that in this game. Turns out their friend was dying and all they wanted was a medkit. The Clear Sky goons I rolled in with were ready to dump these fools, but at the sound of giving up intel for a bandit ambush, I figured if I could spend one medkit and save all my ammo and supplies, it'd be worth it, so I decided to take the gamble. And yeah, it turns out they were right. But whereas we missed the ambush, now we were involved in a street war. A machine gun nest was firing at an unknown faction just up the road, and I was tasked with getting into the building and taking it out. If only I could actually open the door. I managed to take out some of the guys inside the house, but with no way to get in, I just had to take out some guys in the street, or hope that they would take out the machine gun nest for me. And surprise, surprise, someone did! It doesn't matter who fired the shot, all I know is I can now proceed to fight Monolith. I knew these bastards would show up eventually, and knowing they could take some damage, I tried to snipe them out, which went so much smoother than the military base. Only to realize that the reason these guys went down so fast is because they weren't Monolith, but they were actually Duty. Look, using the sniper rifle in this scenario may have actually been overkill, but I'd rather use it now than let it go to waste. Now, besides the shooting, Lemansk is actually my favorite area of the game, especially at night. You have rainfall and the thunderstorms going off, but also these firework-like anomalies lighting up the entire sky, and because you know there's multiple factions in the area, navigating it feels tense. And besides the beautiful atmosphere, you also have sections like this where you have to retake a house while Clear Sky draws fire and you sneak in. These major gunfights are chaotic during these sections, but they make for a very memorable ending. Making it further into the city, I came to a construction site, and I'll be honest with you, when I hear construction, the last thing I think of is grenades. Why are there so many grenades? This one section took ages. Between being blown up or outgunned, I had to slowly make my way through the construction site to pick off the Monolith soldiers one by one, and to be fair, that's how you're supposed to play this game. Don't let me being dumb tell you otherwise. Making it past the construction site, we arrived in an area with a sniper taking shots at us, to which a counter snipe was deployed, but the only way forward was through an electric fence. Since the area had no electricity, I had to go find a switch to turn off the power. Or I could try parkour! Yeah, no, gotta go find that switch. With the switch turned off, Lebedev and the main force could move in, but I was instructed to push forward into an old hospital that had the entrance to the Chornobyl nuclear power plant underneath it. But this place was crawling with baddies. So many that my Clear Sky homies were jittery as hell. I was taking out snipers and taking out packs of Monolith goons, only for the sound of a helicopter to fill the air. I'm gonna have to fight that thing, aren't I? Very much so! However, the helicopter is a bit silly. See, if you just go downstairs to the bottom level and have something like, oh, I don't know, a sniper rifle, you can tag it without it moving, sending that bitch right back to where it came from. We're not out of the woods with that chopper gone, however. Now I had to distract the machine gun nest so my homies could blow it up, but I think they missed the memo because the only thing that got blown up was me. By both sides. Now out of the hospital, I could finally move into the power plant, but instead of running through it, I was hunting outside of it. S.T.A.L.K.E.R was in the area, and if he made it inside, I'd get a game over. S.T.A.L.K.E.R made a break for it, but I got given an electromagnetic rifle to break S.T.A.L.K.E.'s side protection, making him susceptible to the zone once again. What came next was just shooting shot after shot into S.T.A.L.K.E.R to break his protection, and I thought this was going to be easy. But much like with the true ending of the first game, eventually you have to go through space anomalies that teleport you around the area, and the Monolith here spawn in such a way that you almost have no time to react. Most of the combat sections were fun, and frankly, the only reason I managed to get through this is because I found dead spots where teleports wouldn't work. I don't know if this is supposed to be like this, but when in doubt, walk around the spawn trigger. Like this bridge here. Did you know you can just walk on this pipe and nobody spawns in? Yeah, that would have saved me quite a bit of death. But going into the last space anomaly, S.T.A.L.K.E.R just kind of accepted defeat. He just stood there, allowing me, even with my terrible aim, to dome him and kick off the events of Stalker Shadow of Chornobyl. I'm gonna take it as a victory, but it feels like I didn't earn it. But it's all in a day's work, and we can move on. And there you have it. I enjoyed my time rolling with Clear Sky and Freedom, and if Koa Pripyat is considered to be the best in the series, I'm already planning another journey into the zone. So if you want to see that, make sure to let me know by watching and liking the video if you enjoyed it. I want to give a massive shout out to the homies over on Patreon and to the channel members. Thanks so much for stopping by and giving tips that I would go on to ultimately ignore and just bulldoze through certain sections. You made it fun and it wouldn't have been the same without you. I also want to give a special thanks to you, the viewer. I hope you had fun and have a great day because you deserve it. Once again, thank you guys for watching. I've been Chris from Crisis Gaming, and I'll see you on the next one.